right, welcome to episode 8 of the Mind Soul Connection. My name is Jamie Blaustein, CEO of the Sylvia Brafman Mental Health Center and your host. Today joined by not just my fellow co-founder, Ben Brafman, and the Chief Clinical Officer, but our Director of Business Development, Jim Magner.
How's it going, guys?
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. Excited to be here today.
Southie Magner.
Yep.
Yeah, if you can't tell, Jim is from a little town called Boston.
Yes.
So if you're listening,
Lynn. That would be Lynn, the city of
Sin
Lynn.
City, baby. Yep.
certainly like, share, comment on the podcast, whether it's YouTube or our Instagram page. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music, you'll certainly know who Jim is based on the accent. And us too. We sound very, very different. You got that deep booming voice.
Yeah. Helps.
Yeah, it's nice. I kind of wish I had like
Thank you.
that authoritative deep voice.
Appreciate that.
So
Thank you.
what we're doing today is very much aligned with the theme of the last episode, which is that we want to be a little more fun and lighthearted. And so we had the idea, why don't we talk about movies that depict mental illness and addiction? And more specifically, why don't we have a draft where we draft our top 3 movies embodying mental health and addiction? We are rounding the corner for football season. I know you guys know that because we have our NFL fantasy football draft coming up. No money, of course, involved in that.
Oh, just good fun.
Yep, good fun. And
Go Pats.
and so the idea of a draft I thought would be fun. And so what we're going to do is we've each given thought to what movies do we think truly depict addiction and mental illness the best. And there's a lot of good ones out there. And frankly, Ben, and I think even you, maybe I'm planting an excuse ahead of time, but you're certainly a movie buff. You like to
Enjoy it.
lace that into your clinical,
Yep.
whatever, just whatever you do. And I know Michael Lennox, one of our primary therapists, does the same. Likes to use metaphors from movies. And so what we're going to do is we're going to draft. And you, as the audience, are going to have an opportunity to vote for who won the draft. And so this is what I want to do. We're going to do a snake draft, okay? And to determine order, have you guys ever played 21st Finger?
I have not.
I have
Okay.
not either.
Yeah.
All you got to do is we're going to say 1, 2, 3, go. And you're going to put out 1 or 2 fingers. We're going to go around. And whoever it lands on is going to be the first pick. And then we will do a snake.
Okay. I'm ready.
All right. So put out 1 or 2 fingers.
Got
Ready?
it.
1, 2, 3, go. Okay.
Oh.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17,
Oh, up to
18,
21.
19, 20, 21. Okay. First pick.
Wow.
And now we're going to do rock, paper, scissors, best of 3.
Okay.
Nice.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. This is going to be second pick, by the way.
Gotcha.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors,
Number 1
shoot.
pick.
You got it.
Best of 3. Best of 3.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay. Second, third. Okay, well, you got
I like it.
2 back-to-back
I like
picks.
it. I'm ready.
All right, so with the first pick in the 2023 mental illness and addiction movie draft.
Let me ask you this: before you do it?
Yeah.
Is this the
No,
first?
well, you're doing it.
Oh, I know that. I know I'm the first pick, but is it? I just want to be clear. So is it this my number 1 of 1 picks? Like this is the one that number 1 of.
Well, it's your number 1.
It's my number 1.
And
Okay.
look, everyone has different criteria, right? So are you going to go with a crowd pleaser that the audience is going to agree with? Are you going to go with your favorite? Everyone can have their own criteria.
Got
So
it.
I feel like there might be a couple on there I've never even seen.
Yeah,
It's
he's
been
very
way
obscure.
back. So.
Yeah. Thank you both for
Yeah.
pointing out my
he's
age.
a real sicko.
You're right. Yeah. Okay.
So what's the question?
You answered it.
Okay.
I got it.
So
I'm
what
clear.
do you think is the best is really what it comes down to. Now, some people might say, hey, look, I like this better, but like I want to win and I
Yeah.
want to go with what I think they.
All
I
right.
think my strategy is just go with what do I think.
Mhm.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
no, that's great. So
So first pick in the draft, Ben, what movie you taking?
listen, as as it should be scripted and predicted, I'm going to be out of the box here. And I'm going to pick a movie that you wouldn't consider has anything to do with mental illness or addiction, but it actually has everything to do with mental illness and addiction, and that is Star Wars.
Okay.
That's
Wow.
number 1 out of the gate.
Interesting. Star
So
Wars.
why? Do I have time?
Of course,
Can I
yeah.
explain
Well,
myself?
yours.
So Star Wars is based, is really a story of redemption. It's a story about family. It's a story specifically about Anakin Skywalker and his descent into madness. And he was addicted to power. He was addicted to fame. He was addicted to just, being the greatest Jedi that there ever was. And he was seduced by the dark side, which is really a metaphor for the disease of addiction. And he had a massive narcissistic personality disorder. And the only way that he was going to find true redemption from his ailments was through love, and through the love of his son, Luke Skywalker. So it's really the arc. The story is the arc of the Skywalker family, and really becoming one again. The Skywalker family becoming one again and recovering. And it's the story and journey of Luke Skywalker paralleled with the story and journey of his father, Anakin Skywalker, who becomes Darth Vader, and just is just absolutely engulfed in this darkness, and does a lot of cruel things. And it asks the question: is everyone redeemable, regardless of what you've done, regardless of who you are? And the answer ultimately is yes. Through love, through a lot of understanding, through a lot of empathy. So Star Wars is my number one, metaphorically, and anything else. It's a tremendous story. So there you have it.
All right.
Impressive.
Yeah, outside the box for sure.
Yep.
I don't know if I told you, I've never seen it. Really.
That's a problem.
I struggle with.
That's a problem.
I know. I struggle with sci-fi.
What if you viewed it like I just said? If you viewed it and approached it from, he's an addict.
Well, I'm certainly willing.
He's an addict.
I need to. I will.
Yeah.
I will. That's it.
Yeah.
My
He also
promise to you.
suffers from trauma. I mean, there's all kinds of, he's an orphan. I mean, he was screwed from the beginning.
Yeah. All right. So my first pick. There's a lot of good ones out there, and I'm gonna go with Requiem for a Dream.
Nice.
More of a quintessential addiction movie than Star Wars, but for me, it's the darkness. I don't think that there's any movie out there that embodies the darkness of what active addiction looks like. It's the emotions. It's the gloomy, despairing energy that comes in that movie. Darren Aronofsky is the director. He's really good at that. He did Black Swan. What did he do? He's done a lot of really, really powerful movies like that. So I think it's the energies of despair and feeling stuck and all of that more than it is the plot itself. You got Jared Leto, Jennifer Garner, like just sort of desperate to get the next one. And they're not having fun. I think there's one scene where they're like dancing in a club and they're out, but they are not having fun. It is work. They are sweaty and disgusting and angry with each other. And that to me captures what it's like when you're really close to the bottom. You got the mom on uppers, the mom with a spiritual malady thinking, if I can only get on TV, I can get on TV and wear my red dress, right? That is the point at which I'll be good. I'll be good when, ... The great lie that every addict tells himself. It shows that, the uppers make you insane. The downers and the opiates make you want to blow your head off. And it's just not fun anymore. So I think that for me, it conjures up the feelings of addiction better than any movie. And that's why it's my number one pick.
Awesome.
Nice pick.
All right.
Pick. So now I'm the snake here, so I get two picks.
Right,
back
you got
to back.
two Jim.
All right,
Wow.
number 4. This is where I make my comeback a little bit here. So I started out, when we got given this assignment, I started thinking about all the different movies I've seen and stuff, and what relates to me, what doesn't. And So right out of the gate, my first number one all time would be Basketball Diaries.
Nice.
Solid. Leonardo DiCaprio back in the 90s depicted, Jim Carroll, talented basketball player growing up in New York and, fell victim to the addiction to heroin. And, for me, that was something that I never got into heroin, but my drugs and everything there was a lot of similarities there when I was able to look back and see it in terms of like the desperation, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, and then still falling victim to it, being out there on the basketball court playing all messed up. And it reminded me a lot of the Celtics basketball player that struggled in there, Chris Herron back in the, late 80s, early 90s. I grew up there. And so that will definitely always be my number one, one of my top movies.
Scene where he's withdrawing is a powerful one.
Oh, and I can remember
he's stuck in that room.
Yeah. And just,
and you see the arc from, just kind of innocent kid who, likes to dabble to like stone cold junkie in a matter of, not too long.
Well, and you see how quickly heroin and stuff like that will take over. And it was a quick transition.
Yeah, heroin takes you out quick.
Yeah. The thing I like about it too, though, it shows the other side, that addicts do recover and you can have a life. And he became a very talented poet and, went on to do a lot of great things. And so, that will be number one.
That's a good pick.
The next one I had a couple movies in mind. I actually just rewatched this last night, A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe. Yeah, that was, he depicted John Nash, schizophrenic. Rewatching that movie last night, I was watching it with my wife. It was sad, just watching this brilliant man and everything he was able to do. And then, as he started to struggle in his 20s and, having worked in this industry for a while and started to be introduced to some of these patients, just watching how quickly like things just snap and they're, seeing things and, all over the place and still brilliant in that somehow. And so that movie was great to rewatch last night. And obviously towards the end, he was able to come to grips with it and understand it. And I loved how he was talking about like, I still see them. I just don't engage with them anymore.
Yeah, and that's what you were talking about in our last episode.
That's right.
Do you think that's a good depiction of schizophrenia?
Yeah, I do. I really do. It's painful. It's painful to watch the struggle, and it's an internal struggle. So that's a good pick.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. By the way, Russell Crowe was amazing in that, and he had won Best Actor the year before for Gladiator, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. And so he was maybe going to win again. They gave it to Denzel for Training Day, who I think is one of the baddest motherfuckers in that movie. I mean, he is ruthless. But you could have gone either way with that.
Absolutely. I mean, he did a great job of it. And again, another story of seeing him able to, struggle through his 20s and 30s. His wife stuck by his side the whole time. And then he's able to come to grips with it, stay medicated properly. And all of a sudden he's a Nobel Peace Prize winner.
Yep. Solid pick. All right. Jim's got a good list right now. I considered both of those. So Basketball Diaries and Beautiful Mind. All right. So with my pick, which is my second pick, and obviously the second round pick, I'm gonna go with the movie. Okay. I'm gonna go with Flight.
Denzel.
Nice. There it is.
Love Denzel.
Perfect segue.
Yep. Flight. He is, and by the way, as I was thinking of it, I just had a flashback actually, to when this movie came out. This was during Hurricane Sandy, I think, because I remember I was using and I was like staying at my parents' house for a couple days. I was like basically homeless and I was using heroin and my mom had just gone out. I literally just remember this, had just gone to see the movie with my stepdad and it put her in a really bad mood because she saw there was a heroin and, it's quintessential addiction and alcoholism. And she came back and she was like upset and mad at me, because it really like kind of brought up a lot of her fears about me. In any case, it is, to me, it has maybe the best embodiment of the mental obsession in one scene. And I think the whole movie is great, but he's the real deal. And I love the fact that he's so talented, right? Like they say, like, no one could have landed that plane, right? He was in a situation that was not a result of his alcoholism, which is whatever happened with the plane malfunction. But he was able to land that thing in really impressive fashion. And that's what we find too, whether it's people I've sponsored or our patients, right? We tend to have really high ceilings. Addicts and alcoholics tend to be really talented people. And obviously we self-destruct, but this guy needs to stop drinking, and he knows the circumstances that lay ahead. He's going to give this big testimony. He just, he's lucked out. Right. And legally, the lawyers have maneuvered some things to sort of like get him, to walk free. And no matter what, and this is a lot of our experience, we use or we drink no matter what, even though we know that we can't. And so that one scene where he is in the hotel and he is blanketed with security, but he somehow manages to get into the other room and he looks in the fridge and he decides no. And then there's this one moment, there's a gap, and it's like, whoa. And before you know it, he is done, incapacitated. That is the mental obsession. That is the strange mental blank spot, as we call it. And then on a high note, he gets in front of this panel to determine, who's at fault. And his lawyers have set it up so that he's going to be good. And he has a moment of clarity, or really a moment of honesty, where in the most intense, biggest setting he possibly could, he finally gets honest. And he says that he was drunk and that he's an alcoholic.
He's high right now.
Yep.
Right when he said that.
Yes. And they start giving him a bunch of cocaine.
Right. Yeah. The codependent friend that comes in and sobers him up with more drugs.
Yeah. And then he serves time and he gets clean. So really powerful movie. One of my favorites.
That scene, I was thinking that very thing, that made that specific scene where he opens up the little fridge in the hotel and then he closes it and then there's that gap and then of course he's completely obliterated. That made that movie from good to great because it's not a happy ending, it's it's a realistic ending.
Yeah, but there is a silver lining.
Yeah,
when he's in jail, right? He's at peace.
Yes,
the son visits him.
Yes, right? Absolutely, fantastic.
All right, Ben, you got two.
Oh, I have two.
So
all right. So my first one, which will be number 2 on my list, is it's also in my top 5 favorite movies of all time, is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So I could talk about this movie all day. Had Jack Nicholson as R.P. McMurphy just chewed up the scenery, and it was just phenomenal. What an important movie. It came out in the mid 70s. Nobody wanted to make it. Michael Douglas, the actor, he put the money up to make it because he was disgusted with the mental health in our country. And he wanted his father, Kirk Douglas, who was famous, whatever. He wanted him to play R.P. McMurphy. Kirk Douglas famously said no. He said, but I do know somebody who could play it. And there that's how Jack Nicholson came to be. What a tremendous movie about mental illness, about the internal struggle of these patients, all the stuff that they deal with. And then, of course, showing you the underbelly of treatment and the way that it was, the power struggle between Nurse Ratched and R.P. McMurphy and all the power play that comes with that and the lack of empathy and lack of compassion. And, there's a scene in the movie that is my absolute favorite scene. It embodies everything about the movie that I love and everything about what I do. And it actually motivated me in some ways to be the person that I am, the professional that I am. So the World Series is on, and Jack Nicholson, R.P. McMurphy, goes to Nurse Ratched, and he says, well, why don't we watch the World Series? And meanwhile, there's no TV on. There's this like weird elevator music on. I mean, people are sleeping on the whole thing. And they have a vote, and he doesn't get enough votes. And then like 10 minutes later, the Indian who, one of the main characters, he raises his hand and McMurphy goes crazy and says, the chief raises his hand, the chief raises his hand, turn the TV on, all that stuff. And she said no, and she did a power play, and he's pissed off. And so he sits in front of the TV and he begins to narrate the World Series as if he's watching it. And he gets the whole group riled up, talking about eating a hot dog and what it tastes like at a ball game and drinking a beer and home runs and strikeouts and, yelling at the players and all. Everybody was happy. Everybody was ecstatic. They were excited. And he was just, he was punished for that. That was frowned upon. And to me, that was that out of box thinking. That was the creativity that comes with curing people, rehabbing people. So that's my number 2 is
Awesome.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Number 3 is When a Man Loves a Woman. And that is with Meg Ryan and Andy Garcia. Hang on one second. So why is it number 3? So on its surface, right? On paper, it's a stereotypical story about a drunk. She's a drunk. She screws up her life. The marriage is on the rocks, this whole thing. But here's what I love about it. They switched roles. So in this movie, Meg Ryan, she plays the drunk, the alcoholic. And Andy Garcia plays the codependent and the enabling. And it's a story about how she rehabs, but also how he gets better too. And it's not done. And in fact, I don't know another movie off the top of my head that switched roles like that. And it is very impactful. Treatment was realistic. There was no, there was no party at the end. Their marriage and their marital problems, they didn't end because she's sober. Even the kids were impacted, or even her babysitter was impacted. But it is a love story. I just like that they took it from a different perspective. Really, really fantastic. I highly recommend it. Anyway, that's my number 3.
Love it.
Awesome. Solid list. All right. So there's one that I want to pick, and there's one that I think I should pick.
What are your thoughts behind that?
Well, I don't want to. I'll tell you at the end because
Okay,
I don't want to
fair
say it if you're going to pick it. You're
All right.
probably not. I think I know what you're going to pick. I'm going to go with the movie that I just watched, and I have to give Ben credit because he told me to watch it, is Fatal Attraction.
Nice.
So it's a great movie, but she is a borderline, and I don't think that she's diagnosed as that. I mean, I think it's alluded to that she needs help, right? She's got something wrong with her, I think is what Michael Douglas says. Glenn Close, right?
Right.
But I remember at one point when we first got together, right? I tried to understand borderline because I didn't know what it was. And
Right.
you said, picture, this could be guy or girl. So I just want to be clear. But in my case, because I'm heterosexual male, you framed it to me as picture the most vindictive ex-girlfriend that you've ever had,
Right.
who like wants your head. And that's like
it'll screw you at the same time.
Right. Now, just to be clear, I really don't like when guys call girls like say, "Oh, she's crazy," right? I think that's a cop out most of the time. I think most of the time guys have done something to sort of ruffle feathers, and they're not looking at their role in things. But I have been in a scenario similar to this movie, and I think that it embodies it perfectly. It's the up and the down, the I love you so much, I want to kill you.
Right.
The just lack of stability and the behavior that it manifests. And you can see that, and this is where I have sympathy for folks that, whether it's borderline or something else, she's clearly struggling too.
Yeah.
But she, as a result of her struggles, is acting in ways that is wreaking havoc on a man and his family. Not that he has no role in it. He certainly does. But really, really powerful movie that I think.
I'm not going to be ignored.
Right. It hones in on personality
shit.
disorders. So that's my third pick.
Beautiful.
Fatal Attraction.
Nice.
And Jim,
Nice.
we want to take us home?
All right. I mean, coming in ninth there, I struggled with this one a lot because there's a lot of good movies that I could choose from. I try to stay more relevant to my era. And so I'm going to throw out a little bit of a wild card here that may not land as much. But What About Bob? With Richard Dreyfuss and Bill Murray. It was a late 80s, early 90s movie. I can remember seeing it with my family as a kid and not even understanding the whole mental illness side behind it. But, rewatching that movie and looking at the relationship, Bill Murray is, obsessive compulsive disorder, agoraphobia, panic disorder, and Richard Dreyfuss takes him on as a patient. And right out of the gate, he's just, Bill Murray is, with the inappropriate boundaries, calling the line, trying to get in touch with them, ends up finding him at his vacation home up in Lake Winnipesaukee, which is also where I went on vacation every summer as a kid. And just watching the movie for me, as I watched it from, a different perspective recently, is just how, Bill Murray actually helps, Richard Dreyfuss grow as a therapist. He has relationship problems with his wife and his kids. He can't connect with his own family the way he can connect with his patients. And Bill Murray challenges him in every way, shape, or form of what he knows about, psychology. And, by the end of it, Bill Murray looks like the sane one and Richard Dreyfuss looks like the insane one. And it was a funny movie. It's, it's definitely one, if you haven't seen, you check out. It's good for a few laughs. But that would be my,
Nice.
Rounding up the
I have
top three.
to see that. I haven't seen that. And I haven't seen When a Man Loves a Woman either.
No, I
So
haven't
let's
either.
hope that all the millennials out there do the voting here on who the winner
Right here,
is.
guys.
Yeah. Are you a millennial?
78. So right there.
Right on the cusp.
Yeah, right on the cusp. I'm not
Come
a
on.
millennial.
Come
No.
on.
Yeah.
So
81 is
Yeah.
we're gonna let the audience decide who won this. I think these are really good lists. Just to recap, Ben's list is Star Wars 1, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest 2, and When a Man Loves a Woman 3. My list: Requiem for a Dream 1, Flight 2, Fatal Attraction 3, and Jim's list: 1, Basketball Diaries, 2, A Beautiful Mind, and 3, What About Bob?
Yes.
All right, so some good lists here. Any honorable mentions you guys want to float out before we wrap it up? One just came to my mind, which is As Good as It Gets. A lot of OCD
yeah,
in that, right? Like
yeah,
the washing his hands. I didn't think about it until just now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to throw out The Deer Hunter. I almost put that down, and that is PTSD trauma. Should be viewed by everybody.
Yeah.
It's a hard watch, and the cast is amazing. It's De Niro, Meryl Streep, Christopher Walken, John Savage. Listen, it's one of the greatest movies ever, but it's intense. It's intense.
Yeah, my wild card would be Kids.
Yeah,
Jamie.
we
you
talked
and I
about it. It is nowhere to be found.
Yeah,
just for the record.
I've
You
been looking
cannot
for
get
it as well.
Really, you can't. He said you can't find. What about YouTube?
Yeah,
You can't find it?
on
No,
YouTube.
it's-
It's 1995. It came out.
But it's, I think,
Rosario
isn't
Dawson.
it released in Europe or something?
Yeah, it was. It depicted New York. In the I forget the era it was. If it was the 80s or 90s probably. And these kids just out being knuckleheads. They experiment with drugs. They start having unprotected sex, and it just takes you on a whirlwind of just showing what teenagers growing up in New York City in the 90s was like. It was pretty intense.
Yeah. I thought that's what you were going to take with your third pick.
Yeah.
I was the one I was actually thinking about. I just felt like not enough people would have seen it. So there were 2 movies in the last 5 years that I thought did a pretty good job. One was A Beautiful Boy,
Mm-hmm.
which was, I think, based on the book. That was Steve Carell and was it Timothy Chalamet? I always get those 2 confused. Who is it?
Steve Carell for sure, right?
Yeah, I know, definitely him. But the one that I was going to pick was Ben is Back. Did you guys see that?
No, I haven't seen
I
that.
gotta see that.
Really, really good. To me,
It comes
that,
up now on all the Google feeds.
Yeah.
that was to me the best. Yeah, Ben is Back. That was the best portrayal of the family life in early sobriety.
Mhm.
The kid comes home from a halfway, just shows up,
Right.
and there is no trust whatsoever, and they're it just brought me back to my own experience. Definitely watch that movie.
Yeah,
Ben is back.
yeah, that will definitely hit home for me, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
All right, great. Well, look, there's a lot of good entertainment out there, movies, books. We could probably do another one of these on series.
Oh yeah.
We could probably do books, although I think, Ben, you're more well-read than I am, definitely. I'm not good at reading. I mean, I'm good at reading. I can't read. I get distracted. So I'm not. I like to think that I'm well-read, but I'm not really well-read.
Yeah.
So this was really good. Hopefully provided some entertainment for those at home. As a reminder, please like, share, comment on our podcast, The Mind Soul Connection. You can find us on YouTube, on our Instagram page, on Spotify, Apple, really anywhere. And so, of course, SylviaBraffman.com. All the podcast episodes are available there as well. And thank you very much, guys. Jim,
Thanks
thank you
for
for making a strong appearance.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All
Sure.
right.